In this video, we're tackling one of Nigeria's biggest questions. Why exactly do we need a new constitution? We'll uncover why the current 1999 constitution isn't effective and how relying on it is actually holding our nation back. Have you heard people say, it's not the constitution, it's the people? Well, we're going to challenge that popular belief and clearly show why developing a new constitution means much more than just writing down new laws. It's about building a system that truly aligns with Nigeria's unique character and needs. We'll expose the major flaws in our current system, how it limits economic progress, encourages corruption, and fails to offer real checks and balances. Plus, we'll highlight some powerful constitutional proposals that could dramatically improve governance, accountability, and national unity. Ready to rethink Nigeria's future? Stay with us for the full details. Welcome back. If you are new here, please subscribe and follow us on all NEAT social media platforms at neatcommunity.ng. Also, it will be nice if you can turn on the notification icon so you can get notified each time we upload new content. There are a number of topics we need to cover, so rest assured we will be uploading new content every week. NEAT is an acronym for Nigerians Engineering Astounding Tomorrow. It is an initiative designed to bring together young and intelligent Nigerians who have what it takes to look beyond the challenges and divisions in the country and formulate a plan that would transform the nation and follow through with the plan. Great. Back to the conversation. It is about buttressing the point made earlier that new constitutional development is an indispensable step in any effort to build a thriving Nigeria. Let's pause on that word for a second. Indispensable. What does it mean? It means something you cannot do without. It's not optional. It's not if you feel like it. It's a necessity. You can't bake bread without flour, and you can't build a thriving Nigeria without a solid constitutional foundation. The current 1999 Constitution is just not good. It is that simple. We need a new one, a better one. We need to have this conversation because a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, think the Constitution isn't really the problem. They say it's not the Constitution, it's the people. You've probably heard that before, right? That argument where they say, no matter how good a constitution is, if the people are corrupt, nothing will change. It is understandable where they're coming from. They've seen the same leaders, the same problems over and over again. But here's the thing. That line of thinking, it misses the point entirely. And I'll tell you why. The people who say that often don't understand what developing a new constitution really means. They think it's about sitting down with pen and paper and writing out a list of laws or do's and don'ts. They think it's about grammar or vocabulary or copying what another country wrote down. They really don't get it. And it must be said with all sincerity, it's not their fault. It's because nobody has ever explained it to them in a way that makes sense. But we're going to do that right now. You see, developing a new constitution isn't about writing a fancy document. It's about systemic design. It's about how the entire system will work, or won't work. Think of it like a machine. If the machine is broken, it doesn't matter how good the driver is. It's not going anywhere. And if you don't understand how the machine works, you'll keep blaming the driver. That's what's happening. Most times, because they don't understand this, they use their own experience or imagination to create a picture of what we're talking about. They assume we're talking about what they're thinking in their heads. But no, we're talking about something much bigger than that, much deeper. We're talking about creating not just a document, but an entire system, where not just the government, but every single entity in the nation is connected to national development. It is about creating a functional web of connectivity, dependency, and accountability, ensuring that the entire system functions effectively. If you're one of those people who thinks that yes, we probably need a new constitution, but let's just start by working with the existing one, here's a simple question for you, and you should think about it honestly. What is it about the current constitution that makes you think it's good enough to work with? Seriously, think about it. Can you point to one feature, one mechanism, one process that gives you hope? Something about the design, of the current system and the Constitution that makes you think it is capable of taking Nigeria to where it needs to be. Take your time. You can pause the video and continue after you have written down what you think. What did you come up with? The thing is, when you really think about it, you will realize there's nothing there. There's nothing in the present Constitution that's uniquely powerful. Nothing that stands out as the backbone of an economic boom or a moral revival. Here's another thing to think about too. Who designed the present Constitution and system? What was their goal? What were they thinking when they wrote it? Did they have a picture of a Nigerian dream? Most people can't answer that. And the reason they can't answer is because they have not even studied it to understand it very well. The reason the Constitution cannot drive the Nigerian economy is because it was never designed by us, or even for us. It is an imposed system from a failed attempt to copy another system. If you follow the history very well, it's basically the 1979 Constitution with some tweaks. But at its core, it's the same old framework, built on the assumption that what works in America would work here in Nigeria. The assumption ignored that Nigerians aren't Americans. We are both human beings, yes, but we're not the same society. America, whether we like to admit it or not, drew much of its early structure from the reality of slavery and conquest. Nigeria grew from communal effort, from family, from tribe, from consensus. Our traditional systems are built on mutual respect and shared responsibility. That's our nature, and that is what the Constitution should reflect. That is what the Nigerian dream should be about. It should be about being part of a family where not only your economic desires are met, but your emotional desires too. What is limiting this is the Constitution. Rather than trying to support the Nigerian dream, it went after recreating the American dream in Nigeria. Yet, in an attempt to copy the American system in 1979, those who wrote the Constitution ignored the very things that made the American system work. They skipped the important steps. For example, America isn't just a bunch of different people who woke up one day to discover they had been merged together as one country. No, it was built on mutual understanding and agreement between independent states. They sat down, listed out their wants, their needs, and then came to an agreement. They documented it in the Articles of Confederation on November 15, 1777, and later ratified it in 1781. That agreement, the consensus, became the foundation of the American Constitution. The system was designed to protect and support that agreement. But in Nigeria, in 1979 or even before that, no such thing happened. There was no meeting, no agreement. The stakeholders, the real stakeholders, were not even identified, let alone consulted. So instead of building on consensus, they built on assumption. And that's why our system has been flawed from the start. Now, what makes it worse is that because they copied something without understanding it, they left out the mechanisms that keep the system accountable. One of those mechanisms in America is the Second Amendment. And no, it's not just about guns. It's about ensuring power isn't concentrated in the hands of a few. The Second Amendment gave citizens the means to hold their leaders accountable, not just by voting, but by making sure that no government could go rogue without facing resistance. It was a system of checks, not just written checks, but real checks that leaders had to respect on a daily basis. In Nigeria, we don't have that. Our people have no real leverage. If the government goes berserk, what do? The Constitution said you should protest and also told the government to shut it down, and if possible, with whatever means necessary. This lack of real leverage to hold the government accountable, along with the political party structures, means that the Constitution does not protect the three arms of the government from being captured. As a result, any strategic person or group of people could easily subdue the entire government infrastructure. You've seen this happen, haven't you? Apart from that, the Constitution itself provides an easy mechanism for the entire nation to be captured and subdued by external force or military takeover. For example, the same biased ideology of alienating the military and the forces from the people that was introduced by the British is still in play today. That idea of structuring loyalty of the workforce to the force and not the people means military takeover is much easier than we realize. This is the same problem with the judicial system. That is why it's often perceived as weak and filled with corruption that prevents it from protecting the interests and integrity of the people and the nation. And don't forget the concentration of resources, both material and intellectual, in the hands of a few. That's one of the biggest mistakes in the present Constitution. It assumes the nation can put all power in one place and expect economic advancement. But no. Economic advancement is tied to intellectual endowment, which is one of the highly diverse resources in this country. So when only a few people control power and policy, the intellectual rigor becomes limited. It produces poverty in the nation. Now, if we step back and look at all of this carefully, we can summarize one thing. All these problems come from not involving a broad number of people in shaping the country. And that's where the Second Amendment comes in again. It was a reflection of this principle. It ensured that the power to shape the country wasn't trapped in a room somewhere. It was in the hands of the people. That's another fundamental safeguard missing. And let's not ignore the clash between traditional systems and imported ideas. We have these imported ideals sitting on top of local realities that don't fit, and that's why the systems and the institutions keep breaking down. That's why we have political, ethnic, and religious tensions, and why economic development is not evenly distributed. It is the source of the overcrowding of certain areas. This is another case of the Nigerian constitution retaining a vile ideology introduced by the British to aid their own objective of extracting human and material resources from the land. But here is the biggest issue of the current constitution. The global stability today is driven by unwitting contributions from certain nations such as Nigeria. These nations, thanks to their inability to make the most of their capacity, produce the poverty needed for others to sustain their wealth. The Constitution plays a critical role in this regard. Without realizing it, the design of the Constitution enables controversies and inefficiencies that ensure that Nigeria continues to help the world remain stable by providing cheap material and human resources. As far as the Constitution remains, we'll remain stuck in a cycle where chaos and controversy make us inefficient, and that inefficiency feeds the global market. Every time there's a crisis here, someone else profits. So what is the solution? A new Constitution. A real one. Not one written in secret, not one handed down, but one created through genuine engagement. And there are drafts out there. People have worked on this. Some of these drafts are amazing. They have proposals like preventing one political party from controlling all three arms of government. Imagine that, each arm having independent revenue models, not being at the mercy of another. That's a real separation of power and independence, isn't it? Another draft proposes election systems where individual votes are tied to their ethnic communities, ensuring every voice counts and voter intimidation becomes unnecessary. Imagine an election where each individual's votes become a measure of the communal position on a political party or a specific candidate. It will mean that intimidating any voter based on their location becomes baseless, and that birth control does not become a tool for winning an election or a baseline for disrupting cultural bias. That's balance, and there's more. One draft includes activating and financing civilians as community journalists, policy advocates, and watchdogs, giving them the tools and support to hold officials accountable every single day, not just once every 4 years at the ballot box. When you see and understand the features and configurations of most of these drafts, including changes to the electoral processes, the arms of the governments, the powers of the people, and the economic thinking, you will see that the future is much brighter than you can imagine. You will understand that, as mentioned in the video that talks about the ultimate solution for the country, we have been living someone else's life. You will understand how far away the present Constitution is taking us from where we need to be. It will give you the clarity to avoid the argument of supporting the existing Constitution when we can do something that should work for us, something that fits our nature, our diversity, and our potential. So, don't dismiss the idea of a new Constitution. Don't say, it's not what we need. Instead, Focus on what you can do to make this happen peacefully without disrupting the existing system. And understand this, the goal isn't to take from the rich and give to the poor. We're never going to rise by trying to take from one person to give another, or by trying to cut expenditure. No, it is by expanding productivity and wealth and integrating models for global stability. It's going to happen by removing the limitations. It's to take off the cloak of poverty and expand the nation's potential, to empower everyone to multiply their worth, not by magic, but by design. Remember what we said in the other video that talks about the ultimate solution for Nigeria? The global wealth will likely tilt tomorrow to societies that are able to provide models for social cohesion, and Nigeria has the diversity to make that happen. Implementing a new constitution that is built on unity through diversity and opposes this forced nationalism is the way forward. So this is serious. This is your future and that of your children and grandchildren. You can't take this lightly. To be part of the people building and planning a new nation, join the NEAT initiative. Visit www.civilrevo.org/NEAT. Thank you, and see you in the next video.